60 years old. He had outlived every warlord he ever served and every enemy who tried to destroy him. His name, Naoe Kanetsugu, the man who wrote a letter that started a war and then spent the second half of his life building something that outlasted the war entirely. I am a descendant of a samurai family, and after going back to the original Japanese sources, I found something. Today, I reveal the truth about Naoe Kanetsugu. There is a version of Naoe Kanetsugu you may already know, a loyal general, a philosopher of justice, a man defined by a single word on his helmet. That version is real, but it is not the whole story. The original Japanese sources describe a man who navigated one of the most dangerous political transitions in Japanese history, made a decision that brought his lord to the edge of destruction, and then quietly rebuilt everything from nothing using books, not swords. That is the story we are going to tell today.
The year 1600, the month of April. In the castle town of Ieyasu, in the northeast of Japan, a man sat down to write a letter. He was 40 years old. His master, Uesugi Kagekatsu, one of the 5 most powerful lords in Japan under the Toyotomi government, had been summoned to the capital by Tokugawa Ieyasu to answer accusations of preparing for rebellion. The roads in their territory had been improved. A new castle was under construction. Weapons had been stockpiled. Ieyasu called this treason. Kagekatsu's retainer wrote back. The letter that man sent, copies of which survive today, is one of the most remarkable documents in Japanese history. Not because of its military genius, not because of the strategy it describes, but because of its tone. According to the surviving copies, the letter did not apologize. It did not explain. It answered every accusation with a counter-accusation of its own. It questioned Ieyasu's own conduct. It asked, in measured bureaucratic language, who exactly was behaving badly here. The man who wrote it was Naoe Kanetsugu, and according to those who received it, Tokugawa Ieyasu, the most powerful man in Japan, threw the letter down in fury and ordered his armies to march.
But there was something else about Naoe Kanetsugu that nobody could fully explain. Something he carried into every battle he ever fought, a single word, forged in iron, mounted above his face. A word that was not a name, not a clan symbol, not a weapon. A word that 400 years later, historians still argue about. What did it mean? And why would a man go to war under that word in that world at that moment? Stay with me, because the answer to that question tells you everything about who this man actually was.
1560. The same year, Oda Nobunaga won his impossible victory at Okehazama. In the mountains of Echigo Province, what is now Niigata Prefecture, a boy was born. His childhood name was Yoroku. His father was a senior retainer of the Nagao clan, which served under the great warlord Uesugi Kenshin. He was not born into privilege, he was born into service. According to later accounts, when he was 6 years old, he was selected as a personal attendant to a boy named Kiheiji, the son of Kenshin's chosen heir, Uesugi Kagekatsu. The 2 children were sent together to study at a Buddhist temple called Undoen, a temple that still exists today in Niigata, that still preserves the memory of 2 boys who studied there together. Tradition holds that the 2 studied side by side, sharing the same texts, the same teachers, the same cold mountain mornings. Whatever they were being prepared for, they were being prepared for it together. When Kagekatsu eventually moved to Kasugayama Castle to live under Kenshin himself, Yoroku came with him. He was 11 years old. He was already inside the household of one of the most feared commanders in Japan. Kenshin died in 1578. The succession war that followed the Otate no Ran divided the Uesugi domain between two claimants. Kagekatsu was one of them. Yoroku, now a teenager, fought on Kagekatsu's side. Kagekatsu won, and Yoroku, whose name nobody outside Echigo knew yet, had survived his first major test. The next one would define the rest of his life. In 1581, a senior retainer of the Uesugi clan was killed in an internal dispute. His name was Naoe Nobunaga, head of the Naoe family, one of the most important administrative houses in the domain. He left a widow. He left no male heir. Kagekatsu, unwilling to see a family of that importance disappear, arranged for Yoroku to marry the widow and take the family name. The widow was 3 years older than Yoroku. Her name was Ozen, and by most accounts she was exceptionally capable. Yoroku was 21. He was now Naoe Kanetsugu, and he was now responsible for one of the most critical administrative positions in the Uesugi government. Over the next 2 decades, he would become something that most samurai of his era were not. A man who governed. He managed taxes and rice production. He developed new farmland. He handled diplomacy with Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who was impressed enough to grant him the rank of junior 5th degree lower and the prestigious Yamashiro title. He reorganized the domain's finances. He pacified Sado Island. He administered the transfer of the entire Uesugi domain from Echigo to Aizu, a massive logistical operation that required moving an entire government. This was the man who, in the year 1600, sat down to write a letter to the most dangerous political actor in Japan and decided not to apologize. Now, the question from the beginning of this episode, the word on the helmet. Naoe Kanetsugu went into battle wearing a helmet mounted with the character I in Japanese, a single word written with the stroke of a brush and forged into iron. The helmet survives. You can see it today at the Uesugi Shrine in Yonezawa City, Yamagata Prefecture. The character is real. The question of what it meant has never been definitively settled. There are 2 main explanations that historians still debate. The first, I represents Adago Gongen, a deity associated with military victory, widely venerated by warriors of the era. Uesugi Kenshin himself had prayed to Atago Gongen for victory against his greatest enemies. If Kanetsugu wore the first character of that deity's name into battle, he was placing himself under the same divine protection as Kenshin before him, the warlord whose household had shaped everything he ever became. The second explanation is that I represents Aizen Myoho, a Buddhist deity associated with the transformation of desire and attachment into enlightenment, a deity of inner fire turned toward a higher purpose. Under this reading, the character on the helmet is not a declaration of military power. It is a declaration of aspiration, of what a person tries to become in the act of fighting. Both explanations are supported by scholars. Neither has been definitively proven. The man himself left no document in which he explained it. What we do know is this. Uesugi Kenshin carried the character B for the deity Bishamonten on his battle standards, and Naoe Kanetsugu carried the character I. In the world they both inhabited, those 2 characters were understood to belong together, not as enemies, as complementary forces. And that connection between Kenshin's legacy and Kanetsugu's choices explains everything that happened next.
My ancestors served Uesugi Kenshin, the man who carried the character B into battle. And Naoe Kanetsugu served the lord who came after the one who kept Kenshin's domain together when everything was falling apart. I have read about what loyalty meant in that household. What I did not expect when I went back to the original sources was what Kanetsugu did after the battlefield was gone.
The letter Kanetsugu wrote in April of 1600 had consequences. Tokugawa Ieyasu assembled an army and marched on the Uesugi domain. Then, Before the armies could meet, news arrived from the west. Ishida Mitsunari, Kanetsugu's ally, had raised his forces against Ieyasu. The Battle of Sekigahara was coming. Ieyasu turned his armies around. Kanetsugu and Kagekatsu discussed whether to pursue the retreating Tokugawa forces. According to later accounts, Kanetsugu argued against it, that pursuing a withdrawing enemy would be inconsistent with the principles of justice that defined the Uesugi legacy. Whether this was genuine principle or strategic calculation, the historians debate. What is certain is this: they did not pursue. And at Sekigahara, in September of 1600, the Western coalition, the side the Uesugi had supported, was destroyed in a single day. Ieyasu won. The Uesugi domain was reduced from 120,000 koku in Aizu to 30,000 koku in Yonezawa, from one of the most powerful domains in Japan to a fraction of what it had been. Kanetsugu had contributed to the decision that led to this outcome. He was now 40 years old. He had to decide what to do with the rest of his life. When the question arose of reducing the number of retainers because the domain could no longer afford them, Kanetsugu's answer was to bring them all to Yonezawa, not to dismiss them, to keep them together and find a way to feed them. He opened new farmland, he built irrigation systems along the Mogami River, he reorganized the city. The retainers who had nowhere else to go became the people who built the new domain.
There is a pattern in the people who build things that last. They are rarely the ones who won the decisive battles. They are the ones who stayed after the battle was lost and decided that the people around them were worth keeping. Naoe Kanetsugu had every reason to be bitter about what the year 1600 cost him. He had spent 20 years building a domain. One decision, one letter, had made him watch it reduced to a quarter of its size. What he did instead is still visible today in the city of Yonezawa. The question is not how he survived. The question is what he decided survival was for.
In his remaining years, Naoe Kanetsugu did something that was almost without precedent for a man of his class and time. He became a publisher. Using wooden movable type, he supervised the production of printed texts, including an edition of the classical Chinese literary anthology called Monzen, known in Japanese as the Bunsen. This edition, printed in Yonezawa, became known to later scholars as the Naoe Ban, the Kanetsugu edition. It still exists. Scholars still study it. The books he collected during his lifetime, including rare Song Dynasty editions of the Shiji and the Hanshu, the great Chinese historical chronicles, are today designated national treasures of Japan. He also established a school, the Zenrin Bunko, a library and place of learning for samurai retainers. That school became the Kojokan. Then the Kojokan and its successor institution still exists today as a public high school in Yonezawa City. 400 years later, the institution Kanetsugu built is still educating people in the city he rebuilt. The Edo period Confucian scholar Arai Hakuseki, writing generations after Kanetsugu's death, looked at his surviving poetry and prose and wrote that his literary talent was beyond question. That assessment was not charity, it was recognition. Naoe Kanetsugu died in 1619 at the age of 60. His wife Ozen, who had worked alongside him for nearly 4 decades, died 3 months later. They had no surviving children. The Naoe family line ended with him. What did not end was the domain he had rebuilt, the institutions he had established, and still sitting in its display case in Yonezawa the helmet with the single character mounted above its faceplate. A word that scholars still argue about. A word that, whatever it meant, he carried from the age of warfare into the age of peace and never put down.
My ancestors served in the household Kanetsugu spent his life protecting. What strikes me, going back to the sources, is not the letter, the famous one, the one that started the war. It is the school, a domain that had just lost 3/4 of its territory, a household scrambling to feed retainers it could barely afford, and his answer was, build a place to learn. I grew up with my father's 3 teachings. Strike back when you are struck down, be proud of who you are, believe you are capable. Kanetsugu was struck down harder than most men ever are. His response was not to rebuild the army, it was to rebuild the future. The next person in this story made a different kind of choice, one that took him to the other side of the world, in the opposite direction from everything he knew. His name was Uesugi Kagekatsu. That story is next.